We are Joycore Studio.
I'm Erica.
I'm Asha.
And I'm Josie.
And together we've been working alongside entrepreneurs from both business and NGO spaces, grassroots community members, and industry thought leaders to facilitate and empower communities to design solutions to the complex, wicked problems they face.
This podcast grew out of a desire to explore the role and effectiveness of design thinking and systems practice within those wicked problems. Over the last 3 years, a central theme of our work in one such wicked problem has been about understanding and exploring the challenge of reintegration for survivors of human trafficking and bonded labor. And this is what we'll be exploring in these episodes. Each episode in this series starts out with a conversation with our guests, and then Josie, Asha, and I spend a couple of minutes discussing what we've learned and how that applies or could apply to our work and broaden our thinking.
Johnson is a community health and development professional with over 17 years of experience working in some of the most backward and marginalized regions of Bihar, India. Throughout his career, he has been deeply engaged in addressing the complex challenges faced by poor and vulnerable communities, including limited access to healthcare, poverty, low awareness, social exclusion, and the impact of recurring disasters such as floods. He holds a master's degree in social work and a master's degree in public health, along with a postgraduate diploma in human rights, which has strengthened his field-based work. Dr. Amy holds a master's degree in community medicine and works as an anesthesiologist at Madhepura Christian Hospital. During the 2020 pandemic, she initiated a small gathering of children on campus to keep them engaged whilst the parents worked shifts. This evolved into a full-fledged school of 40 students. She manages curriculum development, purchases, parent communication, and HR. She also coordinates non-formal education activities in rural Bihar. We were able to spend time with both Dr. Amy and Johnson earlier this year at the hospital in which they are both based in Madhepura, Bihar. We felt like this was an important topic to cover as through our work we encounter many organisations who are working to see community transformation happen. And the approach and model that we saw in action at MCH was so compelling, and we felt that it could be replicated and an inspiration to organisations working in other places. We hope that you enjoy this episode. Amy and Johnson, thank you so much for joining us in this discussion and conversation. When we start having a conversation with guests, we like to ask one question to begin with. And a lot of the work that we do in studio is focusing around how we can design workshops or solutions to problems that always think about people as a heart, soul, mind, and strength. So we're thinking about the person as their whole self. And Johnson, you might remember when we were doing some of the workshops with you guys in Bihar, before we kind of got going as a warm-up, we just encouraged everybody to engage with their heart, so their feelings and their emotions, their empathy and compassion, and then also their soul. So that's your beliefs and your values and your morals, and then also your mind. So your intellect, your thinking and your knowledge, and your strength, which is your physical body. And so our first question to you guys is, how do you bring your whole self to the work that you do? Your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. What does that look like in your day-to-day?
So when I think about my work in the Community Health and Development Program of Madhepura Christian Hospital, I truly believe that people are whole human beings, and they're made of heart, soul, mind, and strength. So when we design any programs, workshops, or any sort of training programs, we try to touch all these 4 areas. The first of all, the heart. Our work always begin with compassion. We work in very vulnerable communities, especially Mahadalit families, women, children, and migrant population. Many people carry their own pains, fears, and trauma due to poverty, natural disasters, and exploitation, oppression. So, what we do in our program is like, so before giving any solutions, we listen them, we sit with them, we hear their stories and try to understand their emotions and pains. Uh, I think this would help us build a strong trust and so that we are not there to generally care, but we are genuinely giving them care, not just as a professionals, but as a fellow human being. And coming to the soul, our program is deeply guided by values like love, compassion, justice, dignity, and services. Our faith that motivates us to see every person as a valuable and worthy of respect, regardless of caste, religion, background. And the value system shapes us how we work. Uh, we work with honesty, humility, and commitment. And it always gives us strength to continue even when we see our challenges are big and resources are limited. And the mind, we strongly believe that knowledge empowers people through our education program, disaster preparedness trainings, child protection initiatives, livelihood initiatives. We help communities to understand about their rights, their responsibilities, and their choices. When people gain knowledge, definitely they gain confidence, and they begin to think differently. They start ask questions and take ownership of their own development. And the finally the physical aspect, yeah, we address physical need of the people as a healthcare organization. We help them to grow with a good physical nutrition, hygiene, sanitation, safe migration, and being a part of a mission hospital, it helps us to link community work with the medical and healthcare care. Our goal is to develop people become more physically stronger and more resilient so they can face daily challenges with confidence. So when I bring myself as a whole, my heart, soul, mind, and strength to this work, to the community health and development work, it becomes more than a job. I think it becomes a journey of working alongside with the community. And I do not just deliver services. I build hope, restore the dignity of the people, and support people to create a better future for themselves, for their communities, and their children.
Thank you for sharing that, Johnson. That's one of the amazing things about MCH because you're a hospital. And so on the surface, you would assume that, okay, you deal with the physical body, you deal with what's gone wrong with the physical body. But actually, when you pull back all the layers and look at the work that you do in such a holistic way, it's dealing with all of those things. And Amy, as well, I would just wonder whether you could speak to that question as a doctor, as somebody who's come through the health system, and how you approach all four of those aspects of people being their whole selves.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Johnson. And the thing is that it's incomplete unless you do go through all four of them, you see. So what, like you said, I'm a doctor and we are always looking at the physical aspect. So even when we do, my specialty is community medicine. So we're looking mostly at the healthcare, even though there's so many other areas which are covered within our specialty, those are usually ignored. And when you look at a child um, who's got a sore on his leg, which needs treatment, and you don't see everything that's behind, like you said, you peel the layers and there's so much that needs to be addressed. So when we came here, actually, Johnson and his team had already they had a robust system on, and the community work was already on. And so that was what was so unique, that we were just not looking at the physical aspect, but they were actually penetrating into the village and addressing all the body, mind, soul, and heart issues of the people. And that's why it's so special. And I think that's why it works. That's why the people are responding, they are engaging with us, and they do see the benefit, and they see the transformation that's happening for themselves. So
Amazing. And so this next question is really continuing on that thread of your holistic approach and how you've really recognized that in order to help people's health, you also have to meet people where they're at in their villages and communities through other interventions in order to build that trust almost before they come and get that medical help. And what was it that brought on that realization? Yeah, that it's about as much about the work in the community as it is about kind of the work in the hospital.
Yeah, so that I think that realization come from the listening, both inside the hospital and in the communities. When people come to the hospital, we usually notice that they came very late, often when their conditions had already become serious. And we try to understand why this is happening. But finally, we realized that it was not only a medical issues, but it was about the fear, lack of awareness, maybe poverty, distance from the hospital to the village, maybe a caste barrier, and a low trust in the health system. At the same time, through our community interventions, community health and development program, working in the villages, we saw that people were struggling with many challenges. It's like malnutrition, unsafe migration, poor sanitation, lack of livelihood opportunities, child marriages happening, lack of health knowledges are there, and obviously the frequent flood and other natural disasters. Health was not their first priority because I think survival itself was a daily struggle for them. And so the learning comes from both sides. I think inside the hospital, we saw the consequences of unmet community needs. And in the communities and in the villages, we saw the root causes that were bringing people to the hospital too late. That is when we understood that if we truly want to improve people's health, we cannot wait for them to come to us. Instead, we have to go to them first in their villages, in their houses, to reach them and and understand their daily realities. So our community program grew out of this understanding, and we began focusing on trust building through regular village visits, house visits, health educations, disaster preparedness, and so on. When people see us standing with them in time of crisis, in time of disasters, helping their children stay safe, or guiding them on the basic of health and nutrition, definitely trust slowly grows. Once that trust is built, I think people feel safe to approach to the hospital. They no longer see Madhepura Christian Hospital as a place where uh, people only getting treatment in an emergency, but they started to look us as a partner in their well-being. So yeah, I would say it was two-way journey. The hospital's experience shaped our community work, and the community's need strengthened the hospital's mission and the vision. And I think together it formed a holistic model, and where health is not just about treatment, but about dignity, about protection, prevention, and working alongside the people where they are in the community.
Mm. Wow. Actually, that's kind of touched on where the next question that I was gonna ask, what came first, the hospital or the community work? And it sounds like it's just very integrated. And even that fact of noticing that people weren't coming into the hospital, the curiosity of you guys led you to understand why that was and then where you could meet them, which is really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Often people think like we are here, that's why we are serving the community. But in MCH, we believe that we are here because of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hospital for the community rather than
Community.
community for the hospital
Mhm.
sort of a situation. Yeah. And also, I'd like to just add that the listening, um, when the team listens to our people, we realize that the problems are different in each village. So all the villages have different problems, and so the solutions and the approach to each village is very unique and very different. So it's not a one model which fits all. There's no solution for one model which would fit all. So yeah.
If I can just, as a follow up to that, Amy, so you said that the listening bit, right? So does that mean that eventually, as doctors, you got to a point where when they would come in for consultation, like even your way of questioning would change in terms of asking deeper questions? Was that something that eventually you would teach doctors who came in to do, or what was that process like?
So because our community team is so integrated with the our staff is so integrated with the village, they know all about the family. They know everything about the problems there. They know what are, the social situation, the financial situation, the medical situation. So our team is very aware of all of that. So when they have a problem, it's usually our community team that acts as a go-between the medical team as well as the village. So
Right.
we have village volunteers who are from the village themselves. So we have that one key person. Then there's a staff who is put as who oversees that village. So then, there's a second person. So there's this whole sort of a chain
In place.
of response that is already set in place. So we don't have to worry. So they come to us with all like we already know what the problem is and what their situation is.
Mm.
And so when we see a patient, we usually get the backstory as well.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, and I just like to add with Dr. Amy's statement. Like when we send a patient from the community, we assess about their livelihood, about their economic background, about their social relationships, and other things. So with that paper, they will have to come to the hospital, and when the doctor sees all the assessment forms and documents, then definitely they will treat like as they are.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And then even the follow-up becomes more meaningful.
Right.
So even after their stint in the hospital, our community team knows that they were here and they've been
Mm.
discharged. And so they know when to follow up and see the patient at home as well.
Oh, right. Right.
So it's a lovely circle.
Yeah,
Mm.
it really is holistic.
Circle of
It's
care.
almost like, yeah, yeah. I have a question about other nonprofits, especially in India. I feel like there are so many nonprofits that are working um towards community development, and every community seems to have experienced its own trauma in some form of the other, whether it just be even something as like just poverty. Like poverty is also trauma in some way, right? And these experiences could be on an individual, but also as a collective group. And so being a hospital, have you seen trauma manifesting in visible ways within the community members? And how have you found those impacts of trauma to affect these communities' ability to help themselves get out of the situations that they are in?
Johnson, shall I get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, the whole community project is now was born out of a trauma like that. It was born out of the Koshi river flooding in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And the hospital was able to respond to that because the hospital also suffered through that whole flood.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the flood was something that everybody knew about, but there are many other intrinsic traumas which won't be very obvious to the hospital.
Yeah.
So, though the community project was born out of that huge trauma, which was to the whole area,
Mhm.
I think all the intrinsic little traumas that come up are only evident to us because of our team that's on the ground.
Mm.
So, otherwise, we wouldn't have any idea about what's going on in the villages.
Yeah.
So, that's why I think the community team plays such a vital role in being the eyes and being the ears and being the hands and the feet on the ground. And they're the ones who feed back um, to us what is the requirements in the village and what is the trauma, what is the problems that they're facing there. And then we come up together with, come up with some solutions or possible outreach plan based on that.
Mm.
So, but without them, we wouldn't have any idea about those things.
The community team does seem very integral to what
Yeah.
you guys are doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a hospital and working in the community, we closely see trauma, and it is very clear. But very often uh, it is invisible also.
Mm.
Like many people come to the hospital with physical problem or illness, but they have their own stories behind those illnesses, and that is hidden trauma, maybe because of the poverty, because of the flood, because of unsafe migration, caste discrimination, violence, loss of livelihoods, and many other things. Like in the Madhalit communities, we can see the exploitations.
Mm-hmm.
Even we can see the trauma and hidden trauma, I can say hidden trauma, uh, in the life of the children, uh, which we see through the anxiety, school dropouts, silence, or aggressions. Those wounds may not show up in medical test, but yeah, they are deeply affect health and daily life of the people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so it seems like you're not just trying to treat physical trauma that shows up through open wounds or medical issues, but also trying to get deeper into the heart behind what they're experiencing. So since you guys also have experience in this, what could other organizations do to help communities find resilience within themselves and try to build it on their own? I know, Johnson, you work with a lot of communities and have um, tried to help them start things themselves, and which in a way gives them so much of confidence and so much of ability in their own, especially Mahadalit communities, and especially communities that have been kept at the back burner for so long. Yeah, what are some of the things that actually helps these communities build resilience?
Yeah, so as an organization to help communities and building their resilience, we must first slow down and listen their stories. That's what we have done. Hearing starts when people feel uh, like it's a when we hear to the people, it heals them. They
Mm.
feel respected, they feel dignity, they feel valued, and that create a safe space to speak up, to share their ideas, share their pains, and we do all these things, and we are trying to create the safe spaces through group meetings, women groups, adolescent groups, and different circles, and we are trying to help people to share their experiences and realize that they are not alone. And secondly, I would like to say that as an organization, we should focus on their strength, not just the needs. Uh, we can recognize their small success, like if they are learning a new skills, practicing a child, or managing a health issues. So when we recognize them and we celebrate their success, that will definitely restore their confidence. And over the time, that will definitely help the community move from the trauma to the healing, or that would help communities to move from the dependency to ownership. And the third thing I would like to mention here is investing in leadership. It is very key when change comes from the community through trained volunteers or women leaders, youth leaders. Uh, so it lasts longer and build dignity. So yeah, so that is what I would like to say. Like through this strategy or through these activities, and we are trying to uh, get the people out from the trauma.
That's lovely.
And I was just like, when I was looking at the education part of it, I was telling Johnson that there was one promising teacher, and I said, can she not be the one to go to all the villages and do all the schools, focus on the education? But he didn't let me, and I understood why that was. He said she needs to know what each child is going through. She needs to be there to understand. So she has to be there for the parent meeting. She has to be there for the village women self-help group. So the same teacher who's going to teach the children, when she integrates with the rest of the life of that child, there's so much more that comes up. And sure enough, she came up with so many other so much feedback about, okay, actually, ma'am, we don't have a bathroom for the children, so we're teaching about hygiene, but they don't have a place to wash their hands. So can we do something about that? Or she came back to us with a family that, this child has an aunt who's at home and doesn't have medical help, and and he has a brother who's malnourished, so can we do something about that? So we found that she really felt for the children, and then that's when all the facilities, the mind, heart, and soul and body and everything is getting integrated. So I think even that is one very key area which is unique to our community team and how they work, because it's not specialty based. It's not like, okay, I'm the agriculture specialist, so I will only be looking at the agriculture. I am not, there's not one person who's taking care of all the women needs in school. And so I think that is very important also, on why our model seems to really help the people.
Yeah. It's almost like it's coming back to looking at the person as a whole person and
Yeah.
not just one specific aspect of what they do or what's wrong with them. Yeah. And this is a question for both of you. While working on these programs and interventions, what local assets have surprised you the most? It could be skills that the community has, or relationships with stakeholders, informal networks like Anganwadis. Have there been any such local assets that have sort of just come up to support you guys, or yeah, or that have been a great help in the work that you do?
Yeah, so we have a good networking system. We focus, as I have already said, like our focus group is Mahadalit communities.
Yeah.
So the first thing what we do is building trust. So through trust building only we gain their faith on us, and we implement whatever we want, whatever we say, whatever we ask them to do, definitely they will do. And we have a good networking system with different stakeholders from the grassroots to the district headquarters. So we do visit government offices. We do advocate for our people. We do bring the government officials to the community and help people to recognize who they are. And we make a bridge between the community and the government.
Yeah.
So yeah, and surprisingly, we have seen like there are a lot of changes. Like now, the people are going to the government officials. They have started advocating for themselves. There are many transformation stories we have, like how people went to the government offices and they got to the road constructed in their villages, how they got the house schemes, how they got the schools it's built in their communities, they got electricity facilities. So yeah, so we build the capacity of the communities, and we now can see the transformation that is happening within the community.
Nice. Thank you, Johnson. Amy, do you have anything to add?
No, I just think that the government has lots of excellent schemes for the poor, but it's that the poor don't know about it, and the government is unable to reach to them because there's no go-between. So that's a very big gap, and our community team fills that gap perfectly in every area. Like I feel agriculture, disability, palliative care. There's so many areas which need that bridge, and once they're able to access it, it's such a big help for the people because the schemes are excellent.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I have a question, and I was just thinking, I mean, going back to what you were talking about, the importance of community, right, and the role that they play while you serve them. I feel like that was something that was very refreshing for us as a team as well after our trip to Madhepura, just to see that yes, you do work in the community, but the aim is to empower the community to start initiatives and startups on their own. And it's not, like, at least from our experience of what we've heard and seen in some places, you have a lot of people coming from outside and then starting something and then getting people on board. But in this situation, the very fact that, like you mentioned, you look into the heart, soul, body, mind, and then you empower them to do the work on their own and let them know that they are capable of it. And so I was wondering, what does that look like for a community member to shape like an intervention program that you've wanted to try or test at the local level, and if so, can you tell us a story that's worked out, just how some one of their suggestions has really changed the way you've done a program?
Yeah, definitely. Like as an organization, community members plays a central role in shaping what our intervention looks like on the ground, and we believe that they are the key person to our program and our organization. We don't start with ready-made solutions or any general ideas, but we start by listening their stories, their backgrounds through village meetings, multiple visits, discussions, and informal conversations. And yeah, definitely in that meetings, community members tells us what their real challenges are and what has worked before and what will not work in their context. And these discussions are helps us to design program that are practical and trusted, that is helpful to the community. Like I'd like to give you a good example from our work on women-led livelihood that is linked with the child protection. Initially, we planned livelihood support mainly as an income generation activities, and we were thinking like to help individually. But during our group meetings, women shared their deeper concern, like they said their concern, and they said that because of the poverty and unsafe migration, children were dropping out of their school and becoming vulnerable to the child labor and trafficking exploitation. So they told us clearly, like, sir, if women have stable income and women have chance to lead the livelihood of their families, children will definitely be a safer place at their homes. So this insight changed our program design actually. We shifted our individual skill training to group-based women self-help groups. We started forming the saving groups. We started giving training to empower them. We started linking them with the agriculture departments, where women decided that the livelihood activities for themselves, such as poultry farming, kitchen gardening, and small scale enterprises. Along with that, they have started different income activities. We added sessions on savings, financial literacy, and different aspect of the livelihood program. And we have seen over the time these women become more confident, started monitoring school attendance, and supported safe migration. They started maintaining migration register and practicing that every children should be in the school. So what began as a livelihood program, because of the community intervention and their ideas, now it has become a strong protective system for children that is led by the women themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Johnson. Amy, did you have anything to add or?
No, I'm also just listening.
Yeah.
Very excited to hear. I don't often get to hear Johnson tell these stories, so I'm also
And
very
yeah, and you have visited this group also in Terasi village.
Yes.
The Muniji is there,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
women group they were sharing about this shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just so lovely to hear the confidence of the women and
Right.
the way
Yes.
they talk about their
Right.
work is just such a joyful thing to experience.
Right. Right.
Even yeah, the women from other village we have seen like they will be shy or they won't open their mouths.
Mm.
But yeah, your next question will be this: how long it takes? Yeah, that is definitely. And you have already heard from the community like it took us so long, like more
Right.
than a decade.
Right.
But yeah, now we can see the transformation that is there in the community, and women are capacitated. They can open their mouth. They can talk with the government officials. They can now share their concerns, their things, their ideas. So yeah, it is lovely to see how
Right.
they are growing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the next question that I also had was so as a studio team, one thing that we do is which Johnson, you've seen bits of it, we socially map out problems when we work with different organizations. And one of the things for doing that is you also understand that the system is so interconnected that when you're working on one problem, it's not just one problem. You have a number of problems that are connected to it, and that just reinforces the idea of getting different stakeholders together at the table, and it can't be just one person. And so, even as the two of you were talking, you were talking about how you have this big network in place, right? So you have the educators, you have social workers, you have staff in the hospital, and so as you work with different stakeholders, how do you facilitate this network together? Because I'm sure it's no easy fun of getting these people together in one room because everyone has different ideas, everyone will have different opinions. But how do you get them all together? One, and also, what does that feel like when you do it? Like, how is it easy? Is it difficult? What has that journey been for you?
Definitely, it is a difficult. So getting all the stakeholders on the one track or one platform, it's definitely difficult.
Mm.
But yeah, we are trying to get them in one place, and mainly we focus on shared purpose. What we
Mm.
do, we would like to share them,
Mm.
and we trust that each stakeholder have their own strength.
Right.
Like doctors focus on health prevention aspect, teachers they know and they identify the vulnerable children's, social workers they can support the families and they can listen the stories of the community, and the community members definitely ensure their local ownership.
Mm.
So practically it is difficult to get them in one platform, but through our activities, through our programs, we try to create common platform, uh, and we invite jointly to all the stakeholders, organizing joint trainings, village meetings, health camps, and other sessions. So what will happen, like when they join, they can share their ideas, they can aid their valuable insights, and we use uh, those ideas and those insights to achieve our goals and our visions. We also make sure that community voices, especially the women and the marginalized communities, they will get the space to speak, and we use a very simple language instead of technical terms, uh, and we clearly define our role and their role to achieve our goals. And what truly unites the stakeholders in our region is trust, clarity, and consistency. Actually, we are not hiding anything. Whenever we are having meetings or we are inviting any government stakeholders or any village leaders, we clearly speak them what we want and what is our mission and what is our vision. So we are transparent, we follow through on commitments, and we celebrate small success together, as I have already said. And we are building communities uh, with the help of other stakeholders. When people see that, uh, they definitely will help us and come with us to build a better community.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's important, right? Shared purpose. I feel like because
Yeah,
we have so many organizations working on very similar issues, and yet it's difficult to get everyone together. And so that constant reminder of, hey, it's the same thing and it's a common cause, is so important. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And Amy, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's also very important that the trust part for the
Mm,
stakeholders to trust that the community team knows what is, the overall direction. They are the ones who are running the thing. They're the ones who are at the field.
mm,
So even the stakeholders who come in with their ideas, they need to trust that it might have to work differently.
mm,
It might, we might have to do things differently for it to work at the level that the people need it to work at. So, I mean, I've experienced this as part of the education. We want to do this, we want to put this, and we have people who've given us funds, and they want to do, n number of things for the school, and but we need to sort of sit with the community team, and it's then that we actually get the reality check. You know what, this is possible, this is not doable,
Mhm.
this is not going to be good for this area. And so I think there's a bit of trust. The trust has to, the stakeholders need to trust that the community team knows what would work. And yeah, and it's so important to have that shared purpose, because if that shared purpose is not there, then we're going to be at loggerheads. So as long as the stakeholders all understand what the need is, and they really have a heart for the community, I think we realize that we're all working together, and it's a good cogwheel that moves well. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, thank you.
I have two more questions and then we can let you guys go. But so because of what you guys do, you're a hospital, but you also do community transformation. And the hospital deals with so much of emergency and so many things that need to be answered quickly. And yet the community transformation, I know, Johnson, you've shared that it takes so much of time. How do you handle both of that? Like you're actually sitting in between a fast-paced institution, but also like seeing results that take years. What has time taught you about this journey?
Yeah, so that's a very difficult balance, and there's a big tension between that, because like you said, hospital is fast paced, and what we're doing there is completely different from what the community. They're two different worlds altogether.
Yeah.
And it needs those people in between who understand both sides. So
Mm,
if you have the physician in the hospital or the surgeon in the hospital who doesn't understand that the community is also a priority and it needs our attention, then you again have a divide between the hospital and the community. So I think that is also a part of a big part of the success of our hospital and community model were those people in leadership positions who understood the importance of having the community programs going on, and how important that is, and that whole the community is for the hospital rather than the hospital for the community situation. So I think we've been blessed to have people who understood that, and so they're able to sit in between these two worlds.
mhm,
And you do need the people in the hospital who's going to address all the issues that are
yeah,
required in the hospital, because you cannot slow down things in the hospital.
yeah,
Things need to be done at that pace, and it has to be addressed there. At the same time, you have the community projects which need, like, the amount of work that these guys do. We have groups on social media where they put up their updates. It's daily updates, like at least 10 or 15. We went this, we had this meeting, we did that, with photographs and update to see that amount actually, and they do it consistently.
Mm.
Is And so it's difficult to understand that unless you keep, tuning in to what's happening to the community
Right.
thing. So even for me as an anesthetist, I'm most of the time in the hospital. I barely go to the community. But it is so refreshing every once in a while to go to the village. I go when visitors come, and I accompany them, go see the schools, and even just to listen in on what's happening. Like now, I'm enjoying listening to what Johnson is saying. So just to tune in between, and like, to keep these two worlds on this tension, I mean, on a good balance, on a, is a difficult job. And I think it needs the right people in the right places. So you do need those people who are going to help in the hospital, and you need people like Johnson and the whole team on the community side to do what they're doing there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yes, Johnson.
Yeah, at the hospital, we deal with the emergencies like everyday deliveries, surgeries,
Yes.
and other incidences and these needs cannot wait. Like the patients, they want everything should go fast. But at the same time, real community change, it's very slow. It takes years and it takes times, sometimes generations. Like for our communities, it took a decade. So working in both spaces has taught us like some important lessons about time. That is true. What time has taught us is patience with the purpose. Yeah.
Like that. I like that, patience with a purpose.
Yeah.
And this would be my last question, but how do you see the work that you're doing evolve over the next decade? And what are your priorities in the next few years as MCH, as a hospital, but also as a community transformation organization?
We have thousands of plans for next decade actually. Every day we are adding up new plans, new ideas, and yeah. But yeah, as a like community person, yeah, we looking ahead to the next decade. We see our communities to be transformed. But yeah, we want to see some major areas that needs to be taken care. Like first of all, is the transformation taking place in the lives of the people. We want to invest more in local leadership, especially women and the youth. Uh, our goal is that communities are not depend on us over the period of time, but we want that they would able to identify their problems, respond to them, and advocate for themselves. And the secondly, our goal is to strengthen household livelihoods so that the cycle of poverty can be broken. We want every family to have a stable source of income, or at least an alternative livelihood options. So they are not forced into unsafe migration or constant crisis when they have a source of income, or uh, at least one alternative livelihood options. When livelihood improves, families definitely become more secure, resilient, and children stay in schools and health outcomes improve naturally. Uh, and when we look at the next decade, we see our work becoming even more preventive, community-led, and education-focused. Uh, in the next few years, one of our main priorities is strengthening education at the community level. That is what we are regularly talking about and discussing how we can take this initiative to the communities, especially for the children from the most vulnerable families like Mahadali children. We want to ensure that children not only enroll in the school but stay in the school and learn in a safe and supportive environment. We trust that education protects children from the exploitation, from early child marriage, unsafe migration, and education can break the cycle of poverty, and education can transform the communities. So yeah, these are some of the ideas or some of the plans we have for our next decade.
Wow, that sounds great. Amy?
Yeah, we're hoping to open a school as well, which can cater to them once they've finished their primary literacy. So we'd love to continue the non-formal school model where they're first given the basic literacy skills, literacy and numeracy, and then the thing is, when they move on, they still are affected by the system, and they still find it difficult to integrate into the existing education system in Bihar. So we would love to have a school where these children can then, move on to after finishing their basic education at the village level. So that's our dream. We're looking for that, and yeah, I hope it'll come up in the next couple of years.
Wow. Wow, you guys are doing such incredible work. It is always so refreshing and such a joy to hear about, yeah, just everything happening on the ground and the heart and the passion that you guys come to address your work with, and the whole person that you guys address your work with. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, taking a moment to sit with what we just heard, here is the team's reflection.
Yeah, firstly, I think I just want to say that I'm still inspired and still so amazed at what they do at Madhepura. Like, our visit there was it was not what I expected. And I think it raised the standard for just how organizations could look at community transformation, what community transformation actually could look like as well. And I think it just gave me so much of hope and so much of excitement for the potential of other organizations, maybe even listening to that or learning from them, or yeah, could do. But yeah, I think it was just incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote down in my notes as I was preparing for the podcast, just so impressive with exclamation marks, because every time I hear them talk about how integrated the hospital is with the work in the villages and the communities, I'm just amazed at how they balance those two such differing environments. And both Johnson and Amy spoke to that a bit in terms of the hospital being this such fast-paced, intense environment that everyone has to be very on it and focused, versus the village, which is a much longer transformation. It's taken them 10 years to get to where they are now with the community. And Johnson didn't even touch on half of what they've achieved in the community in this episode. I mean, it was just the tip of the iceberg. And so they're incredible people, very inspiring.
I agree. I think one thing that stood out to me was when they both spoke into this, in fact, was when they said that the staff of the hospital is very integrated with the community. And I felt that was just so beautiful to hear because they said that the hospital is for the community, right? And so the fact that the doctors are so tightly knit with the community staff, works alongside with them, um, you kind of understand why a lot of the way that they do things is more proactive than reactive. Again, going to a conversation we had when we were meeting them was them just sharing as to how one of their next aspirations is thinking of a rehab center because
Yeah.
drug abuse is something that they've seen a lot amidst
Yeah.
their community. And so it's also this whole mindset of, okay, how what else can we do to support them, as opposed to now that they've come, what can we do kind of a situation, right? Which speaks so much into this line that they said that the staff is so integrated within the community. um yeah.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
integration speaks so, like, it also ties into what we've heard other people say on different episodes on this podcast as to you can't just address one part of the issue. You kind of have to think of it as the whole as the whole system, if I had to say that. And that's what we also so strongly believe and so strongly embody in our work, is like thinking about it as a whole system, and how do you solve not just one issue. And even if, as an organization, if you only have the capacity to do one area, it's about that collaboration, right? But I feel like within MCH itself, they've managed to figure out how to address small little bits of the system through what they do.
Yeah.
And that just, it shows through their work, because they've clearly managed to, yeah, do healthcare, education, and even provide like business support for survivors of bonded labor. So
Yeah.
that's quite a big part of the system in itself that they're addressing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
They're like such natural design thinkers. Like
yeah,
everything that they do and talk about is just a natural co-creation with
yeah,
everybody involved.
yeah,
And the amount of times that Johnson's response to our questions was that we listen
yeah.
was
Oh,
almost like every question. It was like, how do we approach this? We listen and we hear their stories and we hear what the problem is and what the need is. And then they respond. And it's a crazy world where listening is a very revolutionary act, but we're kind of at that time and point
yeah, yeah. It
where you're
talks to
like,
that
is that
curiosity, right?
yes, yeah, completely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it comes to that curiosity and it comes to like how does that make the other person feel when you actively listen to them and that they feel heard and that they then get to work with you on finding or designing solutions. And yeah, for me, MCH and what they've created is the most beautiful example of design thinking in action. And they don't even call it that, which I
Yeah.
even love even more.
you
Yeah.
don't.
And they normalize it to such an extent that someone from outside, when we enter, we're like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yes, Josie and Erica, I agree with you, especially the bit where they don't just listen, but they also include these people from the community into the problem solving. Um, because one thing they do say, and in fact we've seen some of it, is also the fact that they invest in leadership from within the community, and they are big on that.
yeah,
And during our visit we did get to see some of them from the community follow some of the things that they learn from this and then help others out in the process, which is definitely something that will make people in the community also think about it, right? Like
yeah,
consider it as to why they should listen to them or vice versa.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and especially in a place that hasn't seen a lot of development and hasn't seen a lot of people from outside coming in to help. I feel like, yeah, what an opportunity there probably is to, yeah, just to include people in decision-making processes, and in yeah, getting to have a say in what happens to in in their own little communities. Like, I think something I still remember is the woman from that the one community that was along the Koshi River that had experienced the floods, and how they yeah, they now hold the key to like being able to save and protect themselves from disasters that might happen. They can't stop the floods, but they know how to ensure that everybody in their community and in their village stays safe if there is another flood. And that's
Yeah,
just incredible.
yeah,
Mm.
so great. And I think they also find the place where they can help the most. Because even reflecting a bit on Amy, who spoke about even the government having lots of really excellent schemes for the poor, but the poor don't know about those schemes or they don't know how to access those schemes. And so the hospital kind of acts as this bridge between the government and then the community and helps connect those schemes to the community and then also helps connect the government to the community.
Yeah.
And I think it was Johnson who spoke about trust, clarity, and consistency being so important and how they're just really transparent with all stakeholders. So they're not trying to like get one group what they want whilst dishonoring another group. They're really bringing everybody to the table in that and acknowledging that there are really great opportunities out there for these people. But there is a hole, there is a gap in the system. You know, if you've got great opportunities, but the people who therefore can't access them, then what is it? Can you do that kind of builds that bridge, which, yeah, is amazing.
Also, it's interesting, right? Like the ecosystem that they kind of trying to build outside within the community is also one that they're trying to build within the hospital.
Yeah.
In the sense of it's funny because that day that we were there, they were having a graduation for the nurses and
Hmm.
staff who had just passed out from their training, and just to see that community come to life within the hospital. And then they were also talking about how they have their sports day coming up. So building that community within the hospital, but at the same time asking the privilege to go to the community and also see how they are big on building it there from different angles, like seeing the non-formal school setups that they have. It was just so beautiful because it's about how do we take care of our own, right? From both sides. Um, yeah, that building that community aspect of it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so key.
Really key. Even to see some of the young women from the village graduating as
Hmm.
nurses as well is amazing. They're
Yeah.
even providing job opportunities through the hospital. That was the other thing that we didn't even touch on in that interview was even around they have an amazing sewing program as well where they make kind of the bed sheets and the scrubs for use in the hospital on site and they kind of have they've as many opportunities as they can create they have created
Yeah.
for involvement and for bringing people in and for creation. Yeah.
I was thinking even when Dr. Amy was talking about the doctors being very um, like dependent on the staff that works within the community. I was thinking it's interesting because Johnson, he talked about a lot of these people come into the hospitals very late,
Hmm.
and we were then trying to figure out why is it they come late. And so he's like immediately it was almost like, okay, that's the next thing we have to go and research and understand that to find the root problem to this, right? And so again, it just goes back to that whole thing of it's not just about serving them in a health aspect,
Yeah.
but there clearly seems to be bigger problems that we need to address here to better this, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a quick
Yeah.
fix solution that we're looking at, but let's go deep.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, again, I feel like a lot of things just keep going back to this whole thing of community means let's go deeper, right? And yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think it's so rare that examples of community transformation can be witnessed. There's only a couple that I can think of, one in Nepal and one and this one, where I have maybe one in Sri Lanka, where I've actually seen like community transformation actually happen, albeit the end of not the end of it, but having witnessed a program that has been going for 10 years or to that kind of length and see lives on a scale actually change.
I think another interesting thing that I was thinking through was it was also interesting to see some of the way the minds of these people have changed with what they've seen and been part of. I think an example to that was we got to do this activity there with some of the people from the communities we got to visit, and the activity was around trying to understand financial literacy. where we gave them some rice and asked them to think of it as their monthly income. And we had these glass bottles with labels that read education, savings, celebrations, etc. So we asked them to budget as per their current monthly spendings. After which we told them that if they were to get an increase, how would that affect their budgeting? And that was quite interesting to watch, because while they were discussing that, I got to be a part of some of the conversations. And one was around how a lot of the times loans are taken within the communities because they would want to do a child's wedding. And there's a lot spent on weddings. And it was interesting to just hear how some of them agreed that it was a waste when it comes to the spending, and it's a lot considering it's a loan. And the next time around, if they were to do it again, they would rethink that as an option and probably put a chunk of that money into savings or something for in terms of an education for a child. So even hearing that change in their talking was, I thought, clearly spoke into the kind of community transformation that MCH is doing within the community.
Yeah, so perhaps a good question to leave the listener with this week would be around mindset change. And so what we're asking is, when have you experienced your mindset changing around a particular topic? And what was the environment that led your mindset to be changed? We'd love to hear your reflections and thoughts on that. Please get in touch, and see you for the next episode.